Hey y'all, happy Thursday. Welcome back to another WEIGO podcast YouTube video. I'm your girl Taria. WEIGO podcast, aka What Else Is Going On podcast. You can find the audio version wherever it is you listen to your podcast. And y'all, please come over and play with me and have some fun over on Instagram at WEIGO, WEIGO podcast, same name on Twitter. I think I might be WeGo Podcast One on TikTok. I'll be trying to post over there, but I don't know when the last time. All these platforms are a lot when you have other stuff going on, but I'll be trying, and truth be told, who knows how long TikTok is going to be here. But I'm glad to be back. So this first video, we're going to talk a little Bravo. Now, I wanted to shout out to Ms. Cat, New Jersey. I had told you yesterday that I was going to watch Summer House Martha's Vineyard for the second time yesterday and then do the review. And that by intentions, my intent, I was going to sit down last night and watch it. And then I had got caught up in selling OC. And so I couldn't switch off to watch it again because you said you was waiting for the review. And I said I had you. But after this video, I'm going to watch it. And then I'm going to give my review. There's also another video I want to do that's pretty much non-Bravo stuff. But I just wanted to get this one out to y'all because I missed y'all. So let's get into it. First up, Mr. Andy Cohen was on the cover of The Hollywood Reporter. I'll give it to him. I did like the cover. The cover was okay. Child, and scratch myself. The cover was okay. So we're not going to go through the whole article because it's long, but the title is Andy Cohen finally speaks out on Real Housewives Reckoning. It's hurtful, but I have no regrets. Ex-Bravo stars are hurling charges and lawsuits over alleged sexism, racism, and substance abuse on set. But the network's Golden Boy says he is having the time of his life, celebrating 15 years as the host of Watch What Happens Live. So we're going to skip down. He says it's been a remarkable ascent for the fast-talking Jew. Oh, I'm sorry. The Hollywood Reporter says it's been a remarkable ascent for the fast-talking Jewish gay kid from St. Louis who turned out to have a lot more charisma than his former boss could see. And that rise has surprised and delighted nobody more than Cohen himself, who makes no bones about how much he adores being famous. Like a certain other Andy, he has a Warholian fascination with celebrity, especially his own, even if it does sometimes make his dating life a tad complicated. He once got kicked off a Grindr for impersonating Andy Cohen. That's funny. So let's get into some of the more interesting questions. Some critics have complained that you and Bravo have been slow to adapt in some ways. Ebony Williams, the first Black New York housewife, says she encountered perversive racism on the show. Andy says, I can't speak to her particular experience, and I'm no longer in charge of programming decisions there. But I'm proud of all the work that Bravo has put into making their shows more representative of the country's demographics. George Floyd was an important cultural shift that forced us to look at all of our programming. Bravo made it a mandate to diversify its shows. I mean, they had a show, Summer House, that was a bunch of white people in the Hamptons. Now, this is what Andy's saying. I'm going to read that again. He said, I mean, they had a show, Summer House, that was like a bunch of white people in the Hamptons. Southern Charm was a bunch of white people tomcatting in Charleston. They thought, why are a lot of the shows so segregated? This is what Bravo thought. They decided there needed to be more representation across the dial, and they did it. So what's interesting is we now know they have Summer House Martha's Vineyard, right? But when he talks about Southern Charm was a bunch of white people tomcatting in Charleston, they also had Southern Charm Savannah for 3 years, a bunch of white people tomcatting in Savannah. And then they had the show Southern Charm New Orleans, a cast full of majority Black people with a couple of white cast members thrown in. Where did that go? They never explained why that went off, not to my knowledge. So they can say that, but you took one of your majority Black cast shows off the air. I do understand. How do I say this? Not understand, but George Floyd happened, 2020. The world stood still. And by world, I mean whiteness. Because a lot of Black folks, the stuff with George Floyd and the police brutality we have dealt with, it wasn't foreign to us. family members, friends, been the victim of, on the other end of law enforcement unfairly. My own husband, family members, I know that, but being stopped for no reason. I'll never forget, my husband was driving down the street and just happened to look over and make eye contact with the cop and keep moving. Next thing you know, cop circled around, pulled him over and told him he made eye contact and that made him look suspicious. So get out, all the things. So, especially in the town that we lived in Jersey, it was, yeah. So I get it. Bravo says they want to learn, right? The solution wasn't to just drop random Black people in, and I don't mean by random, I don't mean that I think Black people are random, but by dropping Black folks into these shows where they have no real connection and leaving them to the wolves of the audience that didn't want to see it. Right? Meaning you have your audience members that were like, I liked my show the way it was. And then you have some Black audience members that were like, we know why you're doing this and it doesn't seem authentic. So the solution to me was, and especially it wasn't to drop not just one Black person. So great, we're adding diversity. We're going to bring one of you. And now you're the only that looks like you in this setting of women, right? I know people have their different feelings about Ebony. I'll say this. I personally love Ebony. I was able to establish a relationship with her outside. She's been on the podcast twice, and we've talked personal talk more than one occasion. I can say that right now, if I wanted to call her and ask her for her advice on something, as busy as she is, she would pick up the phone and answer or say, hey, let me hit you back and call me back. And the Ebony that was on, from my experience in the past 2 years, I've known her, in my experience, the Ebony that we saw on The Housewives is the Ebony in real life. So it wasn't just her randomly throwing out Black history facts. Literally, you could be talking to her and it's going to, it was just who she was. But I also get why some people are like, the entertainment. But that part gets tricky to me when it comes to race, not just Ebony, but let's say Garcelle or Crystal. When people throw in the I just want to be entertained, and I say some of these storylines with husbands passing away, Beverly Hills, husbands are being accused of ABUSE and different things, that is entertainment to you. So I just find it interesting that when it comes to certain topics, certain audience segments, they're just here for entertainment, but to each his own. But I just say that to say that, do I like, I loved how Kandi wanted to be instrumental in inserting diversity behind the scenes. She campaigned for Black production companies. All the production companies were white. And she campaigned, I believe there's a woman named Dorothy, a Black woman who has a production company. I think she did Jersey. I'm not sure how many seasons, but she pushed for there to be more diversity amongst production. So there's a lot of behind the scenes things that Kandi did. Either way, I appreciate it. The way they went about it to me was kind of sloppy. And some may say it worked, some may say it didn't work. I don't know, but I'm just giving my take on what he said on that question. Moving on, Brandy Glanville and Carolyn Manzo have both complained about sexual harassment, and Leah McSweeney told Vanity Fair that ratings mad producers hid liquor bottles on the set and sabotaged her sobriety. Are these isolated complaints or symptoms of a larger problem? Andy says, unfortunately, I can't talk about some of these things. What I'll say about the alcohol is that we have so many sober people and people who have gotten sober on the show, like Countess Luann. We have people who've never had a drink. We've had people who've never had a drink during the entire run of the show. Jill Zarin, Candy Burris, Heather Dubrow will just have an occasional glass of champagne. Excuse me. Might be a little bit more than an occasional glass, but she doesn't have a problem. So sure, there are people who drink. There are many people who never drink. We don't force anyone to do anything. But no one is secretly hiding liquor bottles on set. That's ridiculous. We've been very supportive of people's sobriety. I just want to go back to the Heather Dubrow thing. She had champagne in her closet. So That wasn't every once in a while, but she also wasn't getting drunk on camera either. You know what I mean? Hiding the liquor on set. I don't struggle with sobriety, and my heart and definitely goes out to those who do not even goes out. I'm sending love and supporting anybody who's struggling with any type of addiction, whether it be alcohol, what have you. I would like to think I'm going to specifically speak to Leah, that if you've made the decision to be sober and you're seeing what's happening, that maybe after your first season, you would put your own safeguards in place, or you just wouldn't go back if it's hindering your sobriety. Because at the end of the day, you make the decision to put yourself in places that could be harmful to your sober journey. I don't know. Moving on. But Bravo wouldn't be the first network to use liquor to gin up some drama. This is what the Hollywood Reporter said. Andy says, we don't need to gin up drama. Have you seen Ramona Singer on a random Tuesday at 1 p.m.? Have you ever run into Lisa Rinna at noon? Lisa Rinna does not need a glass of rosé in order to tell you exactly how she's feeling. Margaret Josephs only drinks Diet Coke. Yeah, Margaret doesn't drink. Margaret Josephs only drinks Diet Coke, and she is a truth cannon wherever she goes. I don't think Teresa Giudice would say that it was the red wine that caused her to flip that table. We start filming the reunions at 6 a.m., for God's sake. Here's something that I thought was really interesting. The Hollywood Reporter says there are now calls for reality stars to be unionized, with your old friend Bethany Frankel leading the charge. The housewives have made Bravo millions by opening up their lives to cameras. Shouldn't they be paid as much as actors? He says, I have a lot to say about that, but I need to make clear that I'm speaking as an independent producer. This is not Bravo speaking. This is my take on it. If you look at shows like American Idol, Survivor, The Bachelor, or the Below Deck people, 90% or more of the reality stars on them are on for one season or less. Also, acting is a full-time profession. You don't go to school to become a reality star. Reality stars typically have other jobs. They're bar owners, they're designers, they're doctors. I think the way that Bravo pays people is that it's a buyout. They're buying them out for a show that can be distributed in certain ways. And the longer you stay on, the higher your salary gets. And salaries for people who have been on a long time are really high. Look, you're not drafted into the Real Housewives. You either want to be on the show or not. And you either see it as having some greater benefit for you or not. You have a business you're trying to launch. You have a music career you're trying to launch. You want exposure, and you say, okay, I'm going to look at this for the long game and maybe parlay my exposure on the show into other lucrative opportunities. And many of them do just that. I feel like I can agree with that. The longer you stay on, the more you get paid, and it opens the door. It gives you a platform that can open doors for you to do other things. So if you should ever leave, or if they should ever not renew your contract, or if the show was to stop, you've created something else for yourself outside of it. So I understood that. I remember so if you watch Love and Marriage, any of the franchises, but DC specifically, Winter Harris did an interview and she talked about the low pay, and people were saying, oh, because no more than 3,000 an episode, and people were saying that was low. And I will say that for housewives, from what I've heard and what I've heard other housewives say, the first 2 years, typically you're in the negative. You're spending more money than you're making. You're paying for your makeup, for the different clothes, for all of that. You may be getting between 5 and 10,000 an episode, if that. And then once you hit that third season, I've heard, then it goes up, or that fourth season, then it goes up. So I wasn't surprised when Winter talked about maybe only getting between 2,500 to 3,000 per episode. I wasn't surprised because I had heard that about Bravo. So I do agree with him where they are buying you out and you're agreeing to the terms of the contract. And then let's talk about this. Given BravoCon's success, many people were surprised that you decided to skip it this year. Why is that? He said, pulling that together is a massive undertaking. We had 150 or 160 Bravo stars there last year, plus 30,000 people and hundreds of moderators and press. And then we did 5 episodes of Watch What Happens Live in front of 2,000 people. It was just a tremendous amount of effort. And when it ended, I remember saying to NBCU chairman Francis Berwick, maybe we should skip next year or do it in a year and a half. It will be more special that way. Also, the space we wanted was only available 9 months after we had already done it. And that seemed way too soon. But ultimately, it was a Bravo decision, not mine. And the decision, by the way, was made 8 months ago. They just announced it a couple of weeks ago, and people tied it into what's been happening, but it had absolutely nothing to do with that. So that's interesting. 8 months ago, they decided that BravoCon would not happen this year. So we're counting back 8 months ago. So this article was done in May. So that's 5 for this year already. We're just going to count the whole month of May. That would have been October of last year. So October of last year, they made the decision, because he said 8 months ago, they made the decision to not have it the very next year. But he remembers saying after BravoCon in November, which would have been 7 months ago, that maybe they should skip it for this year. Maybe his timelines are a little off, because basically he's saying that before BravoCon last year, they made the decision to not have it this year. But then he also said after BravoCon this year, he said it would be more special if we maybe did it every year and a half. So that was the interview. If you want to check out the full interview, you can go to The Hollywood Reporter. It seems pretty interesting. All right, let's get into some more Housewives news. Exclusive. I used to listen to the Love B. Scott podcast, and they would always go, exclusive. You know, they would, and boom, they would have that. And then he would go, The Real Housewives of it. I'm sorry, they would go, The Real Housewives of Atlanta. So exclusive, Real Housewives of Atlanta is not filming just yet. Will begin later this month. We know you love muffins, are excited about the future of the Real Housewives of Atlanta. And there's been some online chatter about filming for season 16 being underway. However, network sources have confirmed to lovebscott.com that filming has not yet begun and that production is scheduled to start later this month. If you recall, Love B. Scott was first to announce RHOA producers were seeking to reboot the cast with a batch of fresh peaches for the season. As previously reported, Portia Williams and Kenya Moore have both signed on and are set to return. We know that Candy, Sonia, and Marlo have confirmed their respective departures/firings. While we'd love to share the rest of the ladies who will be rounding out the RHOA season 16 cast, we have to wait until a few more things get finalized first. So it seems like maybe the cast, they already have their cast. They just have to finalize some things, tighten up some contracts. Maybe, I know in my experience with Love B. Scott, they normally get it right. So, and I was watching DJ Richie Sky talk about RHOA earlier, and he said that he spoke with a source close to production. I believe he said they're going to be filming starting next week. So hopefully we'll get some action, get some movement with our beloved Atlanta. Moving on now, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Crystal will not be returning, and people were saying Dorit should go, Dorit shouldn't be there. And I remembered saying to you guys that I had a strong feeling. I forget the exact words I used, but basically a source close to said that Dorit may come back because maybe what's going on in her life will be caught on camera, right? Well, shout out to my boo Carlos, sent me this bit of information, and now I'm sure you guys may be seeing it everywhere. Dorit posted, we as a couple have been subject to a lot of speculation about our marriage. We have had our struggles over the last few years and continue to work through them as two people who love each other and share two amazing children together. To safeguard our deep friendship and maintain a harmonious environment for our children, we have made the mutual and difficult decision to take some time apart and reevaluate our relationship while we prioritize our children. We appreciate your love and support while we continue to do the work necessary throughout this journey. With love, Dorit and PK. So Dorit and PK are basically saying that they have separated for the time being in order to safeguard their deep friendship and maintain a harmonious environment for their children. So what that says to me is, Dorit, you have now secured your diamond for next season, and we will probably see all this play out on camera. So are y'all not excited? Because never excited about the demise of something if people truly want it to work out, right? But are y'all wanting to see this play out on camera? Like, were you wanting Dorit to leave because you thought she didn't bring anything, but now hearing this news, you're like, oh, okay, bring her back and let us see the process that they're going through? Or are you like, child Dorit can just go no matter what it is she's going through? Let me know what y'all thoughts are. I personally, I was always of the mind, if she comes back, she comes back. If she doesn't, she doesn't. But if she does come back, we're going to need to see this. We need to be, in the words of Kyle Richards, just be honest, Dorit. We're going to need some honesty from all of them. So let me know what y'all think. What y'all think about the Dorit news? What y'all think about the RHOA news? Or are you just over RHOA and it's like you don't want to hear nothing else until you see some filming in the streets? And what do you think about the snippets that we read from Andy's interview with the Hollywood Reporter? Y'all, I will be back. Again, Ms. Cat J. Wait, make sure I say it right. Miss Cat and J. I'm going to go watch Summer House Martha's Vineyard right now. Again, for the second time. I already watched it the first time, but I need to watch it for the second time. Take my notes, and I will be back with my review. Y'all, I had my review ready. I think I told you my notes for Love and Marriage Huntsville days ago on Monday. I think it was Monday. I had it. I did it. It's in my email. I think I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. All right, y'all. I'll be back and I will talk to y'all later. I love y'all so much. Oh, and again, I got an email from YouTube yesterday and just showing your stats, what you've done in 30 days, the milestones you've achieved. So again, I want to say thank you. Thank y'all for putting me in the rotation with your content creators that you watch. I don't take it for granted. I will never take it for granted. And I will never stop being appreciative and grateful for the love that you've shown. Whether you agree or disagree with my thoughts on things, I appreciate y'all, from my experience so far, 99% of the time, respectful discourse. I appreciate y'all so much. And I will see y'all later. Bye. Oh, wait, not bye. I need to say see you later. My grandma said you don't say bye because you may not see that person again. So see you later.